Palm oil are higher to start the day, but European rapeseed is going in both directions. Tariff uncertainty and a growing supply are causing crude oil prices to decline. The Canadian Grain Commission reported canola exports for the weekend at April 20th were 140,500 tons, compared to 205,900 for the previous week. This marketing year to date, 7.522 million tons of canola were exported, compared to 4.365 million at this time last year. The Canadian dollar is up less than 1/10 of a U.S. cent compared to Thursday's close. The July canola contract is up 50 cents per ton at $697.90. In the U.S., corn and wheat are up, while soybeans are down. Canadian corn exports last week totaled 69,600 tons, less than the 121,200 sent out the week before. This marketing year so far, 1.819 million tons of Canadian corn were exported, compared to 709,300 tons last year. The western and central portions of the U.S. Corn Belt saw rainfall this morning. Support in U.S. corn futures is coming from strong export demand, but warmer and drier weather can accelerate planting progress, putting pressure on prices. The July corn contract is up 3 U.S. cents per bushel at $4.87. Chicago soy oil futures reached its highest levels in 2 months, raising hopes of a breakout to the upside after surpassing the 50 U.S. cent per pound mark on Thursday. There are reports Japan is considering an increase in soybean imports from the U.S. as part of tariff negotiations. The Buenos Aires Grain Exchange said growing areas in Argentina should remain dry over the next 7 days, which would allow the soybean harvest to catch up after being delayed due to rainfall. The exchange also estimated the country's soybean harvest to total 48.6 million tons. The July soybean contract is down 2 U.S. cents per bushel at $10.60. Canadian wheat exports were 510,900 tons last week, compared to 396,700 tons the week before. This marketing year so far, 15.222 million tons were sent off, slightly lower than the 15.283 million last week. Last year, the European Commission projected the European Union's 2025-26 wheat crop to be 126.3 million tons, slightly down from its previous estimate. Ending stocks were increased to 10.7 million this year and 8.5 million next year. French soft wheat conditions declined 1 point to 74% good to excellent this week. Germany's wheat crop is projected to be 21.41 million tons, up 15.7% from last year. The July Chicago wheat contract is up 3 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.47. The July Kansas City hard red wheat contract is up 2 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.53. The July Minneapolis spring wheat contract is up 4 U.S. cents per bushel at $6.12. That's a look at the ICE futures in U.S. markets for Friday, April 25th. In Winnipeg for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Adam Pelashati.
Head to your local Toro dealer, Butler Farm Equipment, during the Toro Spring Sales event for incredible savings on select Toro zero-turn mowers. Get up to $500 off on select Time Cutter and Titan zero turns until April 30th, 2025. When it comes to taking care of your acreage, there's nothing like the My Ride suspension that lets you float above the bumps and rough terrain. Visit Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John today for the best sales, service, and expert advice around. Toro, count on it.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Good morning, I'm Dub. Steve will be joining us in just a little bit. He'll be talking with Caitlin Coombs, the Energeticcity.ca civic reporter. She's been spending the past few weeks covering the election exclusively, so we'll talk a bit about what she's seen and heard, and also what to make sure you need to know when you go to vote on Monday. But first, Stage North's final production of the season, Bluebirds, runs May 1st to 3rd at North Peace Secondary School. The play is about 3 Canadian nurses serving in France during World War I. We're joined now by the director of the play and the executive director of Stage North, Emry Mika. Emry, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us. Let's start with the play itself. Tell me a bit about it and kind of what it's all about.
It follows the story of 3 young nurses as they arrive in France during World War I, experience nursing in a war setting, as well as their friendship and bond together.
Yeah, and it's I don't want to say it's not full length, but it's kind of a shorter play, I suppose.
It's a one act.
Yeah.
So it runs about an hour and 15 minutes. There's no intermission. It's just a full story with the three girls.
I see. Okay. Where did you discover this play? How did you first interact with it?
Like the theater nerd I am, I just find myself reading scripts ever so often. And I was looking for a show to direct to try to stretch some directing muscles that I hadn't stretched yet. And I'd read about 10 scripts and couldn't find something that excited me. And I picked up Bluebirds. It was just suggested on a site, one of the script sites I was reading. And I fell in love immediately. The images were just so visceral. And these women were just so true and grounded. And their connection was so beautiful that I kind of fell in love with the script and wanted to work on it.
And what's kind of the timeline? Had you read this like years ago, or is it earlier this year that you first kind of found it? Or?
I read it probably last January, February, because we decide our season about a year in advance.
I see.
More on that later.
Yeah.
And I had found it. I was looking for a show to work on and found it about a year and a bit ago, but didn't start truly working on it until Mamma Mia was over, if we're being perfectly honest.
But I mean, I imagine you read that and immediately you start thinking, okay, what is this going to look and feel like when I'm putting it on the stage? So did you start kind of making notes on that immediately? And then, as you say, when Mamma Mia was over, it was like, we've got the actors, let's actually make this happen.
Yes, it was go time. Very much so. It's simple set, complex costumes, I guess is a really good way to put it. There's moments of the show that are a little bit more like a dream than reality. And so we had a lot of play that we could do in terms of like using an actual setting, because the setting shifts and morphs during the show. So the set is a little more simple, a little more abstract. But the costumes, the Bluebird nursing uniforms, which is where the show name Bluebirds comes from, because the wounded Canadian soldiers would call the nurses Bluebirds because of their beautiful blue uniforms. Those have been sewn by Heather Truscott for us, and our replica and described in great detail in the play. So that part is very complex and beautiful.
Yeah, and I have to say, my wife is in the play, and I've seen the costumes, and it immediately, I was like, okay, we're here, right? They are doing so much of the heavy lifting of, I think, the time and place, and it's wonderful to see how great they look on everybody. You read a show, and I know you act a lot. So what about this show says to you, or maybe doesn't maybe speak to you as an actor and more as a director, in terms of maybe you read it and you're like, I'd be perfect in this, but I want to direct other people in this instead. What do you think is the difference there for you? What makes you make that change and sort of how you think about it?
For me, this one, I don't know. I have my background experience is in dance and choreography and movement. And when I read this script, I immediately started seeing like stage pictures and the movement and the images of what it could be, instead of feeling akin to like one specific character that I would really want to play. And the beautiful thing about this show is like anybody could have played any of the roles. It was difficult casting because they're so... They're fairly open, right? You were just given their name and a bit about their personality. So any of them could have been played by anybody, but it was the imagery of the show that I really fell in love with as the director. And so that to me told me that I needed to try to recreate those or create those stage pictures that were in my head on the stage.
Now, the three people depicted in the play are based on real people, at least in name. And, you know, again, my wife and I did some time talking about where they were from and all that. Talk a bit about that, the challenge of putting together a play where you want to honor these people who, again, were real people, but also it's sort of a fictionalized account of what they did and may have gone through in their time serving as nurses during World War I.
Yes, each character is based on a real woman that served at this hospital in World War I. The playwright did take some allowances with what they experience and such. What was really neat is watching the girls get to research it, and a large part of the show is them writing letters to their loved ones, and some letters do exist, and so they got to read the letters of these loved ones that these women actually sent to folks, and that was a really cool experience for them to have. It's a weight. We want to make sure we do respect, and we want to make sure that it's we honor these women. There's one of their characters talks a lot about her legacy or what she's leaving behind, and we talked about how neat it was that 100 and some years later we're doing this play, and it's her legacy is there. We're still talking about her, and that's incredible.
Yeah. And I wanted also, you already kind of talked about this too, just for you, and even Jaron and Aaron, who are both in the play as well. The three of you were all in Mamma Mia. You did kind of start working on this a little bit, just as the kind of the show run was happening. Talk about that, the kind of challenges from a quick turnaround from a really fun popcorn, big kind of Broadway musical production to this, which is a lot more serious and as you say, has a lot more weight in a lot of ways than that. Talk a bit about the challenges of just kind of flipping the switch and immediately going into this.
We did have a good giggle because we definitely had a full rehearsal the morning of closing night. So we went from doing a full read through of Bluebirds, which is a very grounded and realistic show, and then we went and danced to disco songs that night, and it was quite a jarring experience. It's been easy to drop into it because it sounds so cheesy to say, because the women are so real that the girls have just been able to like grasp onto these characters and step into them, and the weight of it is not, I mean, it's felt. We feel it every rehearsal. And we do a lot of self-care and making sure we're taking care of ourselves as actors and creators in a space where there's heavy material. But I think it was kind of time. It transitioned quite nicely. Granted, a lot of us are quite tired. Even Stevie was in Peace Country Christmas with you, and so we've all done 2 shows this season, and it's a lot. It's a lot for volunteers, but it's incredible the work they've been doing, and I didn't see any issues with them. They did not demonstrate any issue dropping from doing a musical into this grounded piece. They're incredible actresses, so that really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. One final thing I want to talk about too, all women is kind of put together this play, the stage management, the kind of background. I think Ted is helping out.
All women and Ted is what we call our team.
So again, what does that mean to you that you're putting on a production and it's all women talking about women in certainly in a male-centric world in World War I, but even in a male-centric sort of world, the theater can be sometimes too.
Yes, it was important to me to put together a team that I knew was going to be respectful of the content of the show, and also alongside that kind of concept of a team of women doing this and creating this. One of the characters in the show speaks about how nothing ever changes unless it's for the man's reasoning, and so these women are here in the show making changes, and they're some of the first women to get the Canadian women's vote and things like that. So they're making huge strides in the play, and I felt like it was the least I could do to respect that. And plus I know a lot of incredible women that are ready to help and work and create art, so it was an easy team to put together.
I think the thing that blew me away the most, I hope I'm not giving too much away here, but the fact that the nurses had ranks and were lieutenants, I had no idea, and I was like, I mean, that's just amazing.
It's wild.
There were well, everyone was saluting them and calling them ma'am. So anyway, it's going to be a wonderful play. May 1st to the 3rd at the high school, correct? 7:30 each night. You buy tickets at the door,
Buy
right?
tickets at the door, yes.
Yeah, and it'll be cash, kind of accepted only as far as you know.
We're trying to get other methods, but cash for now, yes.
Okay, so make sure you bring cash. All right, so that's next week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Tonight, there's something wonderful happening with Stage North as well. You're kind of doing a party to talk about what next season has in store, correct?
Yes. So this is relatively new for us. If we've done one in the past, it was pre my time and I don't remember, but we're doing a launch party tonight. So we are having anybody that wants to come to our rehearsal space is more than welcome to join us. There's going to be snacks and chatting, and then we're going to reveal our show season for next year, which is all prepped and ready to go. Rights are acquired, and we're rolling starting next month. There's going to be things happening, auditions and stuff like that. So tonight, if you want to come find out what shows we're doing next year, please come and watch some, I'm sure, what will be ridiculousness go down and enjoy hearing about our season and seeing what's upcoming for us.
Yeah, so, and it's like the directors of the shows.
The directors of the shows have put together something, And
Okay. All right.
it's a surprise for us all.
Something will happen tonight.
Something will happen.
What time does that happen at?
That is at 7:00.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's at the rehearsal space. Tell us the best way to find your way.
Oh,
there
that
if
is
you don't. It's kind of the East Bypass Road,
it's off
Northern
the
Lights
East
Drive.
Bypass Road.
Yeah.
We'll put a sign out by the road and we'll post our location on Facebook. I never remember the address on the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't either. I just know where it is. So, all right. So you got Bluebirds May 1st to 3rd at the high school, 7:30 each night. Bring cash. Tonight, a wonderful season launch party that you just come by and enjoy with your family and friends. Find out what Stage North is up to next season. Emry, thanks for making a few minutes for us.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. And
Thank you so much for having me.
And break a leg, by the way.
Thank you.
That's Emry Mika, the director of Bluebirds, and again, the executive director of Stage North. We'll be right back with Steve and Caitlin from Energeticcity.ca right after this on This Week in the Piece.
Wendy's most important deal of the day has a fresh lineup. Pick any 2 breakfast items for $4. New 4-piece French toast sticks, bacon or sausage wrap, biscuit or English muffin sandwiches, small hot coffee, and more. Limited time only at participating Wendy's, taxes extra.
Swing by Just Jack's Restaurant and treat yourself to our Irish Delights lunch buffet every Friday. All the flavors you love and all you can eat for just $16. Think of it as fast food, but jazzed up with a delicious Irish twist that's far from the usual. Come on over and dig in.
Wilson Concrete and Gravel is home to high-quality concrete and legendary customer service. Their new state-of-the-art concrete batch plant now enables them to include ready-mix concrete services designed to bring you even more reliability, consistency, and strength in every pour. Trust the team at Wilson Concrete and Gravel for success on your next commercial or industrial project. Visit Wilson Concrete and Gravel today, 7224 100 Avenue, or check out wilsonconcrete.ca.
This is Bob Zimmer, Conservative candidate for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies. After the lost Liberal decade with costs up and our economy down, Canadians cannot afford a 4th Liberal term. We need a new Conservative government that will axe the taxes, build the homes, and bring home jobs and dollars to stand on our own feet. It's time to put Canada first for a change. April 28th, vote for hope, vote for change, vote Conservative.
Authorized by the official agent to re-elect Bob Zimmer.
Looking to make some quick cash this summer? Rhythm Auctions Limited is accepting consignments now for their big May 10th sale. Got equipment, vehicles, or attachments? They want them all. Consign with Rhythm Auctions and take advantage of multiple advertising avenues and affordable rates. Don't wait. The consignment deadline is May 2nd. Sale starts at 9 a.m. on May 10th. For updates and details, check their website, rhythmauctions.com, or call 250-261-8901. Rhythm Auctions, where your items get the attention they need.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
This Mother's Day, we're giving you the chance to show off just how amazing your mom really is. Upload a photo of your mom and tell us why she deserves the title of Best Mom Ever. Whether she's your biggest supporter, a kitchen wizard, or the glue that holds the family together, we want to hear all about her. Your entry could land her a fabulous prize pack in our Mother's Day contest. Plus, for an extra entry, kids can take part with our special Mother's Day coloring page. Pick it up and drop it off at any of our sponsor locations or print it off on our website. Submit your entry now at moosefm.ca/Mother's Day and give Mom the recognition she truly deserves. It's the Carter's Jewelers Mother's Day Contest, brought to you by Backcountry, Lucas's Pit Stop, Flower Hut, Pomeroy Hotel and Conference Center, The Hairbin, Fort St. John Co-op, and Roxanne's Interiors.
Moose Country weather.
Today, a little bit of sun, a little bit of cloud, 30% chance of showers this afternoon. Wind picks up through the morning to southwest 30, gusting to 60 k an hour. We get to a high of 20. Tonight, partly cloudy sky. We dip to a low of 4 overnight. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and cloud and a high of 12 with a bit of wind. And Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud, 60% chance of flurries or rain, high of 8 degrees.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Steve. Election day is on Monday, right around the corner. Lots of people have taken to social media already to say they voted in advance. But for people planning to cast their ballots on the big day, we've brought in our civic reporter and our election expert, Caitlin Coombs, to go over everything you need to know. Caitlin, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, always more than happy. So first, for people who have been living under a rock, they have zero idea what's going on. What is this election? Who are the candidates? Which positions are at stake, basically?
So this is the 2025 Canadian federal election. So this is the election to determine the next government, the next prime minister, everything for the next 4 years. So there is a lot at stake during this election.
For sure.
Locally, we are in the Prince George, Peace River, and Northern Rockies electoral district. It's one of the largest in the country by landmass.
Yeah.
We have 5 candidates on the ballot this time. So we have our incumbent MP, Bob Zimmer, from the Conservative Party of Canada. We have David Watson from the People's Party of Canada. Mary Forbes from the Green Party of Canada. Corey Longley of the New Democratic Party. And Peter Jenga of the Liberal Party of Canada. So we've already had some record-breaking voter turnout around the country. We've had about 7 million ballots cast over the holiday weekend. So hopes are high that it'll be a big turnout on Monday.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So on Monday, like you said, this is one of the biggest ridings in the country. Let's focus specifically on Fort St. John and the nearby communities like Charlie Lake and Taylor. Where are the voting locations?
So unlike the provincial election, which we had last year, it was electric. All federal elections are voted by hand. So you cast your ballot in person, and then it is counted in person. So it kind of removes any concern about mechanical error.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of this, votes can only be cast at Election Canada offices. So here in Fort St. John, we have an office on 10003, sorry, weird numbers, on 110th Avenue. In Dawson Creek, which is the second closest, there's one at Mock Electric, 536 115th Avenue. And then in Prince George, that's the main riding kind of office for Elections Canada. That's at PRP Holdings Victoria Square. That's 3rd Avenue, Suite 2. So if you are in Charlie Lake, Taylor, you're going to have to drive in. When you register, it'll tell you where your closest ballot location is. So, you know, that's where if you're in Charlie Lake or Taylor, just be prepared to make the drive on Monday if you haven't already voted.
Okay, for sure. Awesome. Do all polling locations open and close at the same time? And if so, how much time are people going to have to vote on Monday?
Yeah, so all of the offices will be open at the same times. So traditionally on Mondays, these Election Canada offices are open 9 to 9. Polls, of course, close at 7 p.m. on Monday.
Right.
So if you want to cast your ballot, you need to be there in line and identify yourself between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. And for people who maybe need to go during their normal work hours, is there any sort of like legal requirement that employers are let them go?
Yes. Your employer has to allow you to leave to vote, whether that's to vote and then come back or let you leave early to vote and then everything like that. But your employer cannot stop you from voting. It is your civic right and duty.
Okay, perfect. So people are making their way to those polling locations on Monday. What should they bring with them?
Well, first off, you should ideally register beforehand. It's very easy. You just go online to Elections Canada. You put in some information from your driver's license, for example, where you live, how old you are, et cetera, and then you'll be registered. That will put you on a big list. So when you go to Elections Canada, it just makes the process easier when you present yourself for voting.
Yeah.
They can get you your ballot because it will have your name on it, printed out. When you do arrive, you still need to identify yourself. So you'll need to bring something like your driver's license. You have to be a resident of Canada, and you also have to be 18 years of age or older by April 28th. So for example, if you turn 18 on the 28th or the 27th, you can still vote.
Okay, awesome.
You just identify yourself there. You have to present a piece of government-issued photo identification. Has to have your name, your current address. This, like I said, it could be a driver's license or it can be anything issued by a Canadian government that is provincial, federal, or territorial government. It doesn't matter what level it is.
Okay, for sure.
Barring that, you can declare your identity and address in writing if, for example, you don't have your driver's license or anything like that. And you can have someone who knows you or who is assigned to the polling station vouch for you.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So people go, they cast their ballots, they've made their votes. After they voted, after 7 p.m. when the polls close, where can people go to keep up with the results? What are we doing here in order to help broadcast those results?
Well, we've actually made a digital elections guide. So on there, we have comparisons between the political party platforms. We have interviews that we have done with 4 of the 5 candidates, asking them the same questions that were presented from readers. We also have write-ups on the forums. There have been 3 so far, 2 in person, 1 virtual. That was last night. So anyone who's wanting information before the polls can check that out. We will also be live on Monday in the evening writing on energeticcity.ca as after the polls close and as results start to come in. Obviously, we won't know all of the results nationally that night. It will still take a while. There may be a few recounts. But for the Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies riding, the best place for news is going to be energeticcity.ca.
Okay, perfect. I think I've gone over everything on my list. Is there anything else you want to add while we've still got you here?
Other than encouraging people to just go out and vote, vote for the candidate that you think best represents yourself. That's what voting is all about.
100%, absolutely. Thank you so much, Caitlin. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was Caitlin Coombs with energeticcity.ca. Once again, Election Day is Monday, April 28th, and the polls will be open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Thanks again to Emry Mika for joining us today on This Week in the Piece, and thank you for tuning in.
You can listen to this show again by checking out the podcast at energeticcity.ca/podcast. We've got this episode and past episodes there as well. And make sure while you're there to check out our other locally produced podcasts before